1. You are live, you are live.
And what a spectacular way to introduce you to the Sunset Safari here on this wonderful Sunday afternoon in the northern reaches of the Greater Kruger National Park. We're sitting here live, coming from the northern reaches of the Kruger National Park, like I said, or actually more western regions. But here we are, we're sitting with a beautiful male leopard, Tingana, 9 years old, approaching his 10th birthday, in his prime, resting, as one always should on a Sunday afternoon, in the shade. My name is Jeandre. On camera today, we have got the inimitable Jeandre, Hoppy the Calves Jeandre. On the other vehicle, we've got Brent Leo Smith, and he is being filmed by the enormous Bryan, and in the final control, Rebecca. And she is being helped by Kirsten today, so that's the team. With you, Connor has been putting this vehicle together. Jigger is back from a prolonged absence in the hospital. Here he is, or she is. I'm not sure if Jigger is a masculine or feminine term. Anyway, you are most welcome on this live safari, and if you happen to have strolled across this website by mistake or while you were searching for something else, it is very nice to have you with us, and we'd love you to talk to us. Hashtag SafariLIVE if you want to tweet, or questions at wildearth.tv if you're on the email. It is good to have you along, and for the next 3 hours, we're going to be exploring this piece of wilderness that we call home, that we're very privileged to call home. It is 1,200 hectares here, called Nkuhuma. That's where we centralize our operations. Off to the eastern side, very newly, Cheetah Plains, a beautiful piece of land, 550 hectares of that, and then another 600 hectares off to the west of us called Arathusa. So in total, we traverse roughly 5,500 acres of land, which is just marvelous. So let's take a look back at Tingana. We probably won't spend too much time here because he is asleep and not being particularly action-filled, but what a great way to start our drive. There were some elephants making a noise around the camp, so we'll perhaps go and have a look at them a little bit later, or see if we can find them. In the meantime, I think Brent is highing his way to Cheetah Plains, where there were, in fact, not so ironically, some cheetah seen this morning, and he's hoping that they've moved north across the Mala Mala boundary onto Cheetah Plains and those wonderful open areas that they have there, and with any luck, you'll be looking at some cheetah, the other spotted cat that we get here. And this is Tingana, like I say, a male leopard, pushing his 10th birthday fairly soon, I think. I'm not sure exactly when his birthday is. Perhaps one of our regular viewers would like to tell me when his birthday is. I'm not sure we actually know exactly when it is, but it'll be sometime this year. Obviously. It wasn't meant to be amusing, Jeandre. It's just that I'm an idiot. So some lovely golden light filtering through, and a leopard will lie in the shade like this because, of course, his coat is dappled, much like the light underneath one of these combretum trees that he's lying underneath, a bush willow tree. So while he's not, to our sort of colour-aware eyes, particularly camouflaged, to many of the eyes out here belonging to the antelope that he might want to eat, he will be relatively camouflaged there. But he's not looking to hunt at the moment. He's looking to recover from an injury that he has sustained. We're not sure how, quite possibly bitten by a hyena about 3 or 4 nights ago, but he looks to be recovering quite nicely. His belly actually looks quite full, so I think he may have eaten. I don't know that he would have killed anything, excuse me, I don't know that he would have killed anything large, but he would maybe have nabbed a scrub hare for a snack, or perhaps the odd lizard if he was really sore. The temperature is a balmy 28 degrees Celsius or 82 degrees Fahrenheit, which is a wonderful temperature. It's just the perfect kind of autumnal atmosphere that we have here, and it's slightly more cool summer than autumn, simply because we have all of this green vegetation after some late summer rains. So, Deborah Armchair Traveller, as you have correctly guessed, this is Tingana, and I think, as I just said, I think it is actually a full belly. I think that he has been eating. I'm not sure what it was that he ate. We certainly haven't seen him with a large kill. He is still a little bit injured, so like I say, I doubt it was a very large animal. I don't think he's killed an adult male impala, for example. It may have been a scrub hare or two. It may have been a little warthog. He's very good at killing warthog, is Tingana, and devouring them. Maybe it was a steenbok or something like that that he ate last night. We didn't see him for the whole of yesterday, so it isn't quite possible that he ate something during that period and we didn't see it. So I think he's going to be fine. There was lots of worry about the injury that he had and that perhaps he wouldn't survive it because, of course, a leopard, if it is so severely injured that it can't hunt, it won't survive. It lives on its own, so it must fend for itself. No one else is going to fend for it, unlike with the hyenas and lions and wild dogs. But he seems to have recovered, and as most of the animals out here are, extremely resilient they are. They're not in need of a medical attention every 3.5 seconds like we as human beings are. He seems to be absolutely fine, and I think he's going to continue his domination and indeed expansion of his territory as Mvula off to the eastern side gets older and weaker. High action there. He seems to be flicking his tail around. Okay, we're going to spend another 5 minutes with this leopard, everybody, and then we're going to head off and see if we can't find some elephants and that sort of thing, because the day is still pretty warm. I don't think he's going to go anywhere. He's moved, Jeandre, you said 2 meters since this morning.
Yes.
That's an impressive physical exertion. So we'll spend another 4.5 minutes now with him, and then we'll head off and see if we can't find something else. We'll probably pop back here later in the evening. Just to remind you that there is going to be a fireside chat here this year, at least today. A fireside chat today, where we'll be chatting about some of the leopards, we'll be chatting about Karula's cubs, we'll be chatting about our new traverse on Cheetah Plains, and we'll be chatting about our new presenter, Sam Chevalier. And in case you're wondering where he's been, he has had a bit of an ear infection, so we had to send him off to the doctor today. He is back. They did not amputate any piece of him, so he looks as he did when he went to the doctor, so that's a good positive thing. He will tell you a bit about himself at the Fireside Chat, and if you have any questions for him or anyone else for the Fireside Chat, you can send them through now if you want, and we'll note them down, and that's a good way of getting your question in for the Fireside Chat. That will happen a half hour before the end of the show, so it's 6 o'clock Central African time. 6:30, why are you shaking your head?
You're fiddling with something.
Oh, sorry, I was fiddling with my binoculars. I do apologise. Ashley, you want to know if we know who his mother is or who his father is. Now, I always get a little bit confused here. As far as I'm aware, Tingana came from Lion Sands, which is down south of the reserve. So he was born to a leopard there. I think it was Tingana, not Mvula, who was born on Lion Sands. So we don't know who his father is. I think they know who his mother was, but she will be, unfortunately, most likely have shaken off the mortal coil some time back. And so he came into this area as a dispersal male, and that's a good thing, because it means that he brought with him new genetics for a fairly narrow genetic pool of this particular area. Unlike Mvula, who I think was born in and around this area and is therefore probably quite closely related to everyone else. I may have got the stories mixed up between Mvula and Tingana, but one of them comes from outside this area, down by Lion Sands, which is the southern end of the Sabi Sands, which is the collection of private reserves in which we find ourselves. Right, I've had enough of this leopard. He's fast asleep. He's not doing anything. Why should he? It's Sunday afternoon on a balmy Sunday autumnal afternoon. Let's go and find some elephants. I heard some yelling next to the camp while I was sitting outside under a tree reading my book earlier today. You don't do that in the summertime, of course, because then you melt. This time of the year is perfect for sitting out in the middle of the day and contemplating the world. On we go. Now, we do have a slightly different microphone set up on Jigger, and that is simply because, well, you don't need to know the reasons for it, but if I do become difficult to hear, please feel free to shout to Final Control, who will in turn shout at me, and I will attempt to remedy any quietness on my behalf. Right, so our modus operandi from here is going to be to go towards the Gallagher waterhole, where I think the elephants were congregating at some stage, and if they're not there, they're probably somewhere close to the Djuma Dam Pan. And I don't know if any of you have been watching on the Djuma Dam Can, which is focused on the Djuma Dam Pan. I don't know if you've been watching it during the course of the day. I don't know if there have been some elephants there, but I suspect that there probably were. So let's see if we can find them. We're very happy to have Jigga back. And Susie, sorry, I'm getting intermittent signal here. Susie, you want to know about the injured Birmingham boy, and is there any news on him? Not sure at this stage. There were 4 Birmingham boys seen today, 1 on Buffelshoek, 3 down at Cheetah Plains. So I think he's probably fine. I'm not actually sure. He wasn't part of the 3 that Brent saw this morning at Cheetah Plains, but there was a big male lion in relatively good condition seen on Buffelshoek today, so I think it sounds like he's okay. And Snoop, you want to find some cheetah? Well, in that case, I'm going to hand you over to Brent Leo Smith, and he will hopefully take you to the cheetah.
Welcome to the Sunset Safari. After quite the spectacular sunrise safari on Cheetah Plains, we are back in search of cheetah. So they were lying up just to the south of the edge of southern edge of Cheetah Plains, and fingers crossed they have moved further to the north. So we're going to go see if we can find it. Sorry guys, just live radio quickly. Afternoon, I think I'm the only one mobile. I'm just getting mobile.
I've just spotted a butterfly, everyone, which is Jeandre's favourite thing in the world to film. There it is. It's an African joker.
No, I can't see it.
You can. You absolutely lie. Now it's flown away. Oh, you've got it there. Track it.
Where?
It's gone.
No, I don't see it. I actually don't.
No, it's moved back. I'm just going to... Everybody, it is a pretty butterfly, so I'm going to go back. And, well, first look at this one, Jeandre. Can you see this one here? That is one of the whites, as far as I'm aware. They're beautiful. We've had such an amazing explosion of butterflies over the last week or so, and that's a result, of course, of all these flowers, these annual flowers and herbs that have popped up because of the late summer rains that we've had. And it's been just, if you go running in the middle of the day or walking through quarantine clearings, through the herbaceous stuff. Sorry, excuse me 1 second. Rebecca, that's the wrong radio. Sorry, we're just getting a couple of communications from the final control. So have you walked through the sort of meadow-like area that is the quarantine clearings? Butterflies fly up all around you and you feel like you're in something of a fairy tale. I'm going to go back towards the other one, Jeandre, because I know you love filming butterflies so much. And this is a lovely African... Oh, there are lots of butterflies here, Jeandre. So exciting for you. There is a male common diadem there. Well done. Brilliant. You see, you're actually quite good at it. You just, I don't know why you don't like it. There's a yellow pansy. That one's flown off. Don't worry about the yellow pansy, everyone. That is the male common diadem. Now, the interesting thing about that is that the female looks absolutely nothing like the male. The female, you all know, or many of you will know what a monarch butterfly looks like. I will show you a picture. But the female is a mimic of the monarch butterfly, and I just think this is the most wonderful story. So, if we look back here, there it is. There is the common diadem male, okay? Right? There is the female common diadem. So she looks completely different. She looks exactly like a monarch butterfly, which I think we'll probably find over here. There we are. You can see, that's the monarch butterfly. male and female look relatively the same, don't they? Yes, they do. And the interesting thing is that it's a thing called Batesian mimicry. And what happens is that the monarch butterfly is toxic. It feeds on milkweed, and many people know the story of the monarch butterfly, and I know that they migrate in huge numbers, millions of them, all over the United States, from Central America, I think, into the southern states of the United States. And we get African monarchs here which do the same kind of thing. They don't migrate so much, but they eat milkweed, which makes them toxic, and that means that birds don't eat them. Now, the diadem, with the female diadem, is not toxic at all, but through the process of millions of years of evolution, the female common diadem is colored like the monarch so that she is confused by predators for an African monarch. So predators think that the female common diadem is a poisonous butterfly, even though she isn't, which is brilliant. The male, of course, doesn't need to be poisonous, at least because his sole function is to quickly mate with the female, and then it doesn't matter if he gets eaten. So it's an amazing, amazing adaptation that the diadems have evolved over the years. That is the story of the common diadem, Jeandre. On we go. I may have heard something from Rebecca. Did you hear anything? What did she say? Catherine, you say there are such pretty butterflies here. Everything is beautiful in Africa. Well, of course, Jeandre is in Africa, so therefore, inescapably, no. Not everything is as beautiful. I couldn't resist that. That was really nasty of me. Catherine, yes, most things in Africa are as beautiful as all the butterflies. The trees, the grasses, the flowers, the great swathe of iconic African mammals, and even the peoples and cultures are largely very interesting and very beautiful indeed. Thank you for that, Catherine. Sorry, Jeandre. Couldn't resist. Let's head back towards the Pan, Galago Pan, where with any luck there will be a large herd of elephants waiting for us. If not, there'll be something to look at, I'm sure. Maybe some more butterflies, Jeandre. Riveting butterflies. All right, let's try again with Brent. He seems to be in a much more stable signal area, and I will hopefully see you with some elephants.
Sorry about that. We still haven't quite figured out where all the gremlins live here on Cheetah Plains. So we're heading towards the southern boundary where we last saw the cheetah. Very exciting. These are two male cheetah. Now, sorry about that. So we're driving along a little sort of drainage system or riverbed here. Now this is one of the areas Tandi likes to hang out in, and we're just having a quick look for any tracks. Looks like a very exciting, wow. Do you see that, Bryan? I saw on the way down here a tree as well. A buffalo thorn that has got a serious adornment today. Look at that. Common jokers and vagrants mostly. And it's all over that buffalo thorn. I see the tiny little flowers that's attracting the butterflies. It's like the bush is sparkling almost with all the fluttering of the beautiful butterflies. I think that's a good ermine, Bryan.
Me too.
So if there are any of you who are new you are more than welcome to pop me a question, and you can do that by sending an email to questions@wildearth.tv, or you can use the hashtag SafariLIVE on Twitter to get hold of us and ask us if you have any questions about cheetah plains or about cheetah or about animals or the bush in general. We would love to hear from you. So, we're seeing quite a few different things. Some of the bush is very similar to Jeandre, but some is very different. Those big open sodic areas. And Brent is wondering what birds of prey have I seen, and what am I likely to see that might be different. I think we're probably going to get the same sort of birds of prey, Bradley. We did see, unfortunately it wasn't on air, but we have seen a little sparrowhawk, or a shikra, on this morning, but he didn't hang around for too long. We're now going to just turn around and jump down towards the double M boundary. So, as you might have noticed, Wendy's clutch cable broke on the Sunrise Safari, and we will have that up and running by tomorrow. But so, Jeandre is back from being a 6-month service, and Simon's wondering, will we ever do a drive with 3 vehicles at a time, or will we keep it to 2? So, Simon, I think we'll keep it to 2. Hopefully once bushwalk cameras is fixed and stuff like that, we will be moving up and having a bushwalk as well. But till for then, I think, and even after, we will still keep it to 2 vehicles, not 3. It helps to have a 3rd for exactly the reason that happened this morning. We can just jump on the next vehicle and off we go. So Donna's wondering why we don't see cheetah more often in Nkuhuma. Donna, it's quite simply because these 2 male cheetah really like these big open areas that run up here along the Kruger National Park boundary, and this is sort of part of their core of their home range. So they pass through here once or twice a week. Nkuhuma, they don't have access to that type of a landscape. So they do come very occasionally, but they don't come there as regularly as they do here. So, Julia is wondering, will we see the world's largest bird here, the ostrich? There's a good chance. I think especially as it gets drier, we might see some ostrich. And we'll be definitely keeping a lookout for them. Just checking my map, making sure we don't wander across where we're not supposed to be. Snoop is wondering, do we have a map of cheetah plains? I do, on my telephone. So, and everyone else does as well, have that said map. So a big Safari Live welcome to Chris, who's a new viewer. Hi, Chris. Chris would like to know, are the animals on cheetah plains more frightened of us than the ones on Nkuhuma? Not necessarily, only if they're coming in from the Western Kruger, where they don't see a lot of people. There are no commercial operations, there's no roads, it's a big wilderness area in Kruger there. So occasionally we might see some unrelaxed animals, but generally the majority of the animals are going to be just as relaxed as in Nkuhuma. Okay, so now I'm going to start checking quite carefully for tracks. Wasn't too far from here where we saw those two boys. So what we're looking for now, if they haven't moved too far, is a very distinct round head shape, and sometimes looks like elephant dung lying in the shade. Now, they were sleeping on this very termite mound when we first spotted them. So we just want to check carefully in the shade here. Okay, it looks like they're not here, so, ooh, hang on. They're my binoculars. No, it is a stick. Okay, so we're going to go head back towards the east now, maybe check a little bit further down here, see if we can find any sign of them. While we do that, let's jump back on board with Commander Bond.
I spotted another butterfly, everyone. Becoming something of a joke to make Jeandre film butterflies. He confessed to me that he doesn't dislike butterflies, everyone. He just says to me that he feels that sitting above them like this, when we could be filming them on the bushwalk, for example, close by with a slow-motion camera, would be much more befitting the magnificence of the butterflies that we get. Is that right, Jeandre? It's not just that you're a lazy git. No, it's not that. Okay, good. Here, we actually do have a butterfly. We do, sorry, I don't have a lapel mic. We do have a butterfly. It's an orange tip. And the reason I've got out of the car is not to try and capture the hapless thing, but to show you what it's eating. A very familiar flower. And I'm going to pick some because there are lots of them. And this beautiful flower is called plumbago. Yes? No? Oh, no? Focus. Having focus troubles, everybody. We will fix that shortly. So that is the white plumbago. And if I'm not mistaken, just around the corner here, we've got some blue plumbago. Come with me. No, I am mistaken. It's all white plumbago. Absolutely no scent whatsoever. And very cleverly, what happens is that the sort of sexual organs of the flower are up there, And once it's fertilized, you can see the flower dies off like it has there, and the seed forms in there. And these are very sticky. So they'll stick to my finger like that, you can see. And so that's how it disperses the seeds. An animal will come past here, these seeds will sort of stick. They're almost like sort of sticky Velcro. They'll stick to the fur of whatever animal walks past it, like a bushbuck or a nyala, and they'll be deposited in some other sort of shaded area like this. There's another butterfly, a monarch. Well done, Jeandre. Didn't even have to be prompted to do that one. Well done. Okay, on we go. The elephants were not where I thought they were going to be, I'm afraid. So we're going to head off towards Buffelshoek Dam and see if we can't find something drinking there. It's not a very hot day, but it's certainly hot enough to have the odd drink. Do we need to... Okay. Steph, you want to know if you should call me the Butterfly Whisperer. If you would like to call me the Butterfly Whisperer, I'm more than happy to acknowledge you're calling me the Butterfly Whisperer. But I think possibly a better Butterfly Whisperer is Brent Smith. I think he's done very well with the butterflies this season. But Steph, thank you. I'm more than happy to take it from you. I'm going to have to ask Rebecca if she wouldn't mind giving us a quick break to try and reset the camera because the focus is just not working. So I'm just going to wait for permission. And Brent is off the vehicle, so you're just going to have to look at me blurry for the next little while, I'm afraid. Sorry about that. You know, these cameras take an awful beating driving around here every day on these bumpy roads. So sometimes they just need a little bit of TLC. Jeandre is looking so deeply unhappy, I can't tell you. He's a real perfectionist, you see. And so his face is the picture of great tragedy at the moment. Don't worry, Jeandre. Our viewers will forgive you. You'll forgive him, won't you, everybody? It's not his fault, I promise. I look in focus here. What's wrong with me?
No, you are, but it says you're 3 meters away.
It says I'm 3 meters away. Oh, I see. It's no good at all. Another great advantage of the autumns like this is the great, beautiful blue sky. Okay, Brent is back on the car. We're going to go across to him. We'll try and fix the camera and see you shortly.
So, we're still in search of those shikankankies, or shikankanka, which is the Shangaan name for a cheetah. I'm just going to have a quick look around the corner, and then I think I want to head towards the east. So no sign of any tracks here yet. So Maurice is wondering, do we see secretary birds down here? And are the plains open enough for them? They definitely are. We haven't seen one yet, but there is a possibility we might see a secretary bird out on the open grassland. Generally, secretary birds prefer a little bit longer grass than's on here. And the grass is so short this year because of the lack of rain that we've had. But it doesn't mean they won't be there. Sometimes we might get very lucky. Hello, Gracie. Nice to have you with us again. Gracie would like to know, do we have daisies on cheetah plains? Daisies make people smile, and that's why Gracie named Bachelor Bob the hippo's girlfriend Princess Daisy. Gracie, we don't. But how's this? I will find you a flower before the end of safari, just for you. For those who are wondering, Gracie is 8 years old and a staunch SafariLIVE supporter. We're just double checking here for tracks and also checking all termite mounds and other places in this area that if I was a cheetah I might want to have a snooze on. Beautiful late summer or early winter's afternoon. Very pleasant temperature, not too hot, not too cold. I think it is going to get a bit chilly later, but that's a good thing. We're going to have a fire to keep warm next to on the Fireside Chat later on this evening. So James is wondering, are there any dry river systems like there are on Nkuhuma and Arathusa on Cheetah Plains? There are, but they're not as big. It's not one we can drive down. So we were driving along the edge of one at the beginning of the safari, having a look to see if we could see any leopard tracks. Tundi has been known to be in this area, as well as Mr. Q has been seen recently around here, and a male leopard called Shivambalan, who is one of Karula's sprogs. Where are you hiding, little cheetahs? Well, if we don't find a cheetah, there might be something else to find. No tracks. They might be walking along the parallel road to us, so hopefully they do duck into the north. So Tim, who was lucky enough to live in Zambia many years ago, said he saw a great deal of baobab trees. And Tim would like to know, do we get any on Cheetah Plains or in South Africa? Not at all on Cheetah Plains, and none in the Sabi Sands. There are a few, but they are being planted by people. The most southerly occurring baobab is not too far from here in the Kruger National Park. And if you go to the north of South Africa along the Limpopo River, it is an area famous for many and very large baobabs. So they do occur in South Africa, but not naturally in the Sabi Sands. We're coming up to one of these big open areas. Hopefully the cheetah have moved to here. See that shade there, Bryan, next to the... See what I'm looking at? Is a stick. Oh, it's a very confusing stick. I thought, haha, cheetah, I have found you. Let's just double check. Yes, it's very much a stick. A cheetah stick. We're going to have to remember that cheetah stick while we drive around here, because I think that might catch us more than once. There we go. Nice open area there. Just have a quick look with the binoculars. Oh, look who's there. I didn't even notice him. Sneaky thumb. Well, where are you hiding? Is that another stick that's confusing me, Bryan? Yeah. Yes, very much stick. Sticks, sticks, sticks. Sticks looking like cheetahs, naughty sticks. Okay, I just have to have a quick afternoon meeting while you look at beautiful open areas, and while we have our afternoon meeting, let's jump back on board with James.
So we've hardly moved since you last saw us, everyone, and that's because we've been fixing the camera. I say we, but I mean Jeandre has been fixing the camera. I've been reading a book. It's been very pleasant. I've been enjoying the sun on my face while I've read about the butterflies of the region. The Painted Lady was the last one I read about, and I shall try and find you one for Jeandre to overcome his moral rectitude. And I'm not sure that rectitude is actually a word, nor do I know what it means, but it seemed like a good word to use in that particular context. Somebody please tell me what rectitude means. I really don't know what it means. I'm hoping that we'll find a painted lady and Jeandre will overcome his moral inhibitions and film it from the lofty position that we find ourselves here. The camera is fixed. I'm now in sharp focus. The camera thinks that I'm the correct distance from it, that I am. That's the good thing. So we're still heading towards Bibbulshoek Dam. Quite astoundingly, we haven't reached yet, and that's really astounding because Jigger was re-kitted out today. And although she sounds like a V8, she isn't. She's only got 6 cylinders, and only some of them work some of the time. It's because there's a small hole in the exhaust pipe, possibly from Brent Smith chasing wild dogs. Could have been me, though. For those of you wondering what I'm talking about, our vehicles all have names, and this particular one is called Jigger. Jeandre, do you think Jigger is a masculine or feminine name? All vehicles are feminine. Okay. Maybe Jigger can be like Leslie or Robin. Lovely question coming through from Donna while we talk about naming things. And Donna, you want to know what the Shangaan term for a small leopard cub would be. Well, there are 2 ways of saying small in Shangaan or in Zulu, and kind of the way it's done is to add an extension to the end of the noun that you want to use. So if you were to say a leopard, it would be yingwe. A small leopard, you would add the suffix ana. So you'd say yingwana, which means small leopard. So in Zulu, for example, a person is umuntu, and a small person or a child, mating monarchs. see them? There. Mating monarchs, everybody. It looks like substantially more effort for one party than the other, I must say. That's fantastic. Look at that. And there you can see the many spots that they have on the back or hind wing, whereas the diadem, which is the mimic, only has one. So, Donna, paparati is the Shangaan word for butterfly. A small butterfly would be paparatana. Paparatana. Then you can also say, if you want to say a small one, you can say ingwe yinzongo. So ingwe is the leopard, yinzongo, the adjective for small. And the yi in front of that is what's known as a concord. Ingwe yinzongo. And if you want to say something very small, you'd say yingwana yinzongo ngofu. A very small little leopard. I think the one who's holding on to the tree there is possibly exhausted, having carried his partner about. Sorry, my audio has been a little bit low. It's because I'm not talking into the microphone like I should be. That should be a bit better. Right, Jeandre, I think they've got a bit kind of shy, don't you? Shall we press on?
Yeah. Oral obligations.
Okay. That was a lovely question. Thank you, Donna. Not surprised about that. Yeah.
So we are continuing to check at these lovely little open patches. And here we go, look at this. So far, not much happening. Now, these plans will be seasonally visited by lots of different creatures. And there we have that lovely big herd of wildebeest this morning. Oh, look at that. Battalier in a beautiful arc. Well, where are you going that way now? Bryan can't follow you there.
Yeah,
It's Where's he going? Where did he go? Where's he going? Oh, there he is. Sorry, I thought he might be looking like he's going to drop. So that's why I was quite intently looking at him, like maybe he spotted something we haven't. Now, battaliers are often the first bird to arrive on a carcass. Exceptional eyesight. They fly quite a lot lower than vultures, and vultures will often watch them, and when they drop, that's when the vultures sometimes will follow them. And that beautiful cruising. Lovely stiff wings just using the wind, gliding. You can see that very distinct sort of balancing act with that very short tail. That's why they're constantly sort of overcorrecting. Oh, dropped his legs for a little stretch there. One of the definitely iconic birds of the African bushveld. Magic. He's got a bit of a thermal, gone a bit higher. I was hoping he had spotted those cheetahs on a hill and was about to descend and have a little snack. It's nice tracking there, Bryan. So Bryan and I are trying to drive all the roads we haven't driven yet. So I think we drove this one. Yes, we did drive this one this morning. And we're going to go past Buffalo Pan, which is a new one for us. There's Cheetah Plains Pan coming up on the right. Go past there quickly, see if there's anything at the waterhole. Oh, isn't this just magnificent? Here we have Cheetah Plains Pan on the right. Oh, nice and full. And Sam is wondering, do we have cotton soil on Cheetah Plains? Now, cotton soil is a type of clay. You can get very, very stuck in it. No, there's not too much here. Maybe a little bit down in the drainage systems, in that little river beds. We got there. You see him, Bryan? A cute little bird on the right. Okay, so a little bit to the right, and that piece of mud sticking out. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Right a bit more. Right, and out a little bit. There. Aha! Now here's one to test the birders. What bird is that? It's a little wader. And I don't know if we've seen too many of these on the live drives. So I'm having a good look at him. And look at that very distinct ring around his eye. And the feather's also quite distinct as it moves. See a very quite a long bill. It is one of the little waders. Now you can see what colour his legs are. That's always quite important. We can't see his legs, can we, really? But who can identify this mystery wader? If you know the answers, you're very smart, and you must send your answers through to questions at wildearth.tv. Oh, little scratch. Or use the hashtag SafariLIVE on Twitter. What bird is this? And I think it might be a new one for some of your bird lists. So while you ponder what feathered creature that may be, let's jump across to James, who's got a slightly bigger animal, but also one that likes to spend its times in the pans.
High action here at Biffleshoek Dam, everybody. A buffalo bull is lying down. He is not alone. He is accompanied by hundreds of terrapins that are pottering about, eating things. Sorry. He's pottering about, eating things in the water. Not him, the terrapins, that is. They're pottering about, eating things in the water. The insects that come and land here, possibly the odd sort of subaquatic snail or mollusk or something like that. They're eating all sorts of things. They're sort of the scavengers, if you like, of the water. And that is the serrated hinged terrapin. Turning the game drive radio down, which is disturbing my concentration. Now, this buffalo bull, of course, like many of his colleagues around here, has eschewed living in the herd. He likes to live on his own now because he's able to sit exactly where he wants to be. He's around the water when he wants to have a drink. He's around the mud when he wants to have a wallow. And he's close enough to grazing in the evening for him to have a meal and not have to go too far to get it. Sounds like the ultimate form of retirement for a single bachelor. And that's precisely what this chap is. But he will, of course, join up every so often with other bachelor bulls, and they will form these sort of grumpy groups of retired old men. Lots of birdsong you can possibly hear. You can hear the Birchall starling going. Now, dead silent, of course. There. That's the Birchall starling. You can hear a dove coming in. I don't think you can see. Can you see the starling, Jeandre? Ah, you got him. Well done. You can see him singing there. And you can possibly also hear the dove going. Lovely. And it really does have a real Sunday afternoon feel to it this afternoon. And by that I mean it's very relaxed. It feels like the bush is at peace. Everything seems to be just taking it easy slightly, which is of course completely ridiculous because there's no difference between this afternoon, tomorrow afternoon, or yesterday afternoon. It's just a feeling that has developed, and I think possibly within the human psyche we're so used to Sundays being days of off or rest. And so if you do happen to come across a gorgeous autumnal afternoon like this, the inevitable feeling is one of a relaxed Sunday. Alrighty, let's move on from Biffleshoek Dam. Right, let us continue. See what else we can find. This is fantastic. We have just had a first-time tweeter or emailer, I'm not sure which it was, Betsy. Betsy, you have sent us your first email, and we thank you very much for it, everybody. Betsy is 92 years young and has just sent us her first email. Thank you very much, Betsy. I don't think it's the first email you've ever sent. It's just the first one you've sent to us. So we're very grateful to it, and you want to know when our summer ends. Well, Betsy, our summer has kind of come to an end already. So as you, I assume you're getting hold of us from the Northern Hemisphere somewhere. And please do tell us where you're from when you do get hold of us next time, because it's so nice to know where in the world you're watching from. As your spring starts to come around, and I'm sure where you're living now, the blossoms are blooming, the daffodils and things are out of the ground, and the odd other summer flower or spring flower will be starting to bloom. And so as your spring turns, so does our autumn or our fall. We're going into autumn now, and then we'll be in winter. Sort of June, July, August is our winter time. But our winter, of course, Betsy, is nothing like as terrifying as a Northern Hemisphere winter. The coldest temperature we get here is about 4 degrees Celsius, which sits at about 40 degrees Fahrenheit, so that's not too bad. And then in the middle of the day, it'll go all the way up to the mid-70s sometimes, which is marvellous. Not a lot of mammal life out here today for some reason. Those elephants that I heard calling next to the camp seem to have gone, well, disappeared into the ether, really. They've flown away, wherever it is. I don't know where they've gone. So we'll just bumble along here in Sunday afternoon mode and see what prettiness we can find. What is that infernal banging in the back of the car? Other than my appalling driving. No, we don't know. We will fix it at some stage. Well done. Fix it. It's just stopped. And Laura, you're in New York City. While we're driving along, having just seen a buffalo bull, you know about, you're clearly not a first-time watcher, you know about these animals that eat buffalo horns. Now, we will probably go past some buffalo horns that are being eaten as we speak. On dead buffalo, everybody, you get these moths called keratin-eating moths, and they like to eat the keratin on the buffalo horns. And a buffalo horn, of course, is bone in the middle, and then a very thick keratin sheath. And these keratin-eating moths will eat away and then pupate in the keratin of the horns, and that's basically how they survive. So it's a moth, normally. Laura, a kind of moth, a keratin-eating moth, and it's their caterpillar or larval stage that eats the keratin. The moth, I'm sure, will then go off and do what most moths do, and that is either not eat at all, or it will eat on nectar, feed on nectar of plants. So remember, there are a lot of adult insects that don't feed. They don't have mouth parts that feed. All right, I'm going to go and try and find the buffalo skull I'm thinking of with the keratinous-eating moths. In that meantime, you're doing a quiz with Brent. Enjoy that, and I would love to know what he asked you. See you just now.
So, welcome back. We have not seen much since we left you, but we are perusing, exploring, just soaking up the sun and the excitement of a new traverse area. Well done, though, to Jeandre Tree Girl, and Jared. You were spot on with your answer there. It was a wood sandpiper. Here we go. How's that, Bryan? There we go. You can see the wood sandpiper. Sorry, I don't understand. Oh, there we go. That's what I was looking for. So you can see that's the non-breeding plumage. So they become a little bit more dark during breeding. And you can see they are seasonal migrants. That blue means they move around. So they're generally with us for all months except the two coldest months, or two of the coldest months, June and July. And they will move off then. Okay. Oh, I see a mammal, Bryan. Something. A mammal who is defending his patch of open plains against any other males of his species, hoping that the ladies are on their way. There we go. Hello, Mr. Wildly Beast. Bob is wondering why there are so few grazers on cheetah plains. Is it because the grass is so short? No, not at all, Bob. I think it's seasonal. Animals will move in and out between these areas depending on water availability and that. So you'll find this area probably has a lot more big herds of buffalo than Nkuhuma, but they come in and out. They're not as resident as a lot of our species. And Ashley was also wondering why we don't see as many sort of inyala and kudu and things like that. And well, actually the main reason, or inyala and bushbuck in specific, is we don't have a big drainage system or riverbed like the Mattie. So that's why we're not going to see as many. There might be a few around those smaller little river systems. And there's a good number of impala. Wildebeest will come in and out, but zebra will also come in and out. But I think as it gets drier, this area is going to become more and more productive. So we're going to leave the open plains for a little while and head towards 3-in-a-row pan. So the plan is that we're going to head on through, maybe look for some leopards up on the crests here, and then as it gets a little bit later, will head down back towards those open areas. So cheetah being crepuscular, most active at dusk and dawn, might get moving a little later. Annie in British Columbia says she's never convinced that cheetah are going to be there once we see them, because they are capable of moving such distances. And how big is a cheetah's territory? So they have more home ranges than territory, and a male cheetah in this part of the world probably has up to 15,000 hectares, 20,000 hectares. So those two male cheetah move over about half of the Sabi Sands in total. So they do have very big home ranges, and it all depends on the area. So you'll find home ranges in a place like the Serengeti, Masai Mara, much smaller, just due to the nature of the terrain and the availability of food and females and all those type of things. Hello, Daniela, who is in Johannesburg, South Africa. Daniela would like to know, how fast can a cheetah run? Well, they can do 0 to 60 miles an hour, which is about 96 kilometers an hour, in 3 seconds. So they've got incredible sort of and very quick top end, but their top speed is about 120 kilometers an hour. They can't maintain that top speed for very long, only a couple of 100 meters. But 120 kilometers an hour, which is around 70 miles per hour, is a cheetah's top speed. So Marilyn in Montana is wondering what a bird we saw on the sunrise safari. Was it an amma falcon or a red-footed? Marilyn and I said that one was a red-footed. A red-footed, slightly darker than the amma. So this area we're currently in is that area where quarantine was last seen, so I'm having a good look for tracks. I know a lot of you would be ecstatic if we happened to bump into Mr. Q. For those of you who knew, Quarantine is a male leopard that we spent an incredible amount of time with early last year, so very exciting if we can find him again. So while we continue to look for things that are living, it seems James is fascinated with things that are dead. Let's go see what he's found.
Hello, everybody. We have found the buffalo skull of which I spoke. Let me just get out of the shadows of the vehicle. And, Laura, there you can see where the skull has been eaten away by moths. Now, ooh, it seems to be leaking. That's very odd. It seems to be leaking. The buffalo's brain has clearly rotted finally and is now leaking out of the skull. I'm talking rubbish. It's just collected some rainwater, excuse me. A fly went into my throat. So this sort of evidence of destruction here is the moth eating away at the skull of the buffalo, or the keratin. And you can see there that the skull is bone. The smell is unspeakable. Ooh. Now that really is disgusting. I'm not sure, I'm sure it's just rainwater that's gathered in there, but I don't want anything to do with it. Anyway, so the moth eats away here, and normally what it does is the caterpillar of the moth, it would then produce some kind of a chrysalis. It would then pupate out of that and fly off and eat whatever it was going to eat. I don't know why there aren't any pupa or chrysalises on this particular example, but that's what happens. You can see bone in the skull and then the keratin that comes out of it. The smell, I have to tell you, something otherworldly. Okay, on we go.
we shall continue our quest. I'm afraid it does really feel very quiet out here indeed. We have seen no further mammals at all, plenty of butterflies, all of them flying at high speed. So Jeandre has refused to look at them even. Okay. Yeah, we're now in the far eastern section of Nkuhuma. Simon, just carrying on the topic of the keratin-eating moths, you want to know they only eat dead buffalo horns, or... Well, yes, they do. They only eat dead horns, but not only buffalo. They'll eat the horns of kudu and any other antelope species. So anywhere where there is keratin that is not being eaten, they will eat it with ease. And yeah, there's nothing else for them to eat. And I'm not sure if I understand the second part of your question, but you say, I'm going to ask Rebecca to read it to me again. Okay, now I see where you're going with this. Okay, so you basically want to know how do they know that it's, well, not know that it's dead, but how do they only eat dead keratin as opposed to living keratin? I think half the reason that you so often see male antelope and buffalo scratching their heads is because the larvae, the small caterpillars and the eggs of those moths are probably inside there already. And so you see the animals scratching their heads often against bushes. And I mean, buffalo especially that top bit, it always looks like it's itchy. And I think you'll find that the eggs of the moths are probably laid in living animals. And then once they stop having the ability to scratch themselves, i.e. once they've been killed by a lion and eaten, then the moth will start to eat the keratin. They won't be sort of scratched off. I think that's how it works, Simon. I hope that answers your question. I think that's what you were getting at. Now, our plan from this particular area is to be going towards Treehouse Dam. There were a few tracks of a female leopard sort of around Zoe's Road, which is the far western section, earlier this morning. And although we saw tracks of Karula and her cubs going south into Little Gowrie, which is the reserve to the south of us, it's interesting to try and find out who those female leopard tracks belong to. Could well be Shadow, come up on a hunting foray. We're hoping to be introduced to her cubs fairly soon as well. So let's pop across there and we'll see what we can find. I did have a brief sort of scrounge around there this morning when I was on tracking team. And I found one or two hyenas, which was quite interesting. And Raisa, thank you very much, Raisa. I did get it mixed up. Mvula came from Lion Sands, and Raisa says that Tingana came, we think, from the Kruger. And we are now, of course, doing all the DNA analysis, or we're not, but Panthera, the NGO, is, and they will tell us if there is any relationship between all of the leopards around here. And an interesting question from Ellen in New York. Panthera, of course, has told us that Mvula is 13 years old. And Ellen, your question is, could we not get more accurate information on Tingana's age from Panthera? Well, because of Raisa's very astute observations and very kind repeated information to me, which I seem to forget all the time. She did admonish me during the course of answering my question for not remembering the difference between the two of them. Sorry about that, Raisa. The answer is no, because Tingana comes from the Kruger, which means nobody knows when he was born exactly. Mvula comes from Lion Sands. He's been followed since he was a cub. So that's why it's easy to tell how old one is, and not so easy to tell how old the other one is. Same with Gajima, that sort of unrelaxed male leopard who's in Biffel's Hook, and there's quite a lot of sort of argument over how old he is. Some say about 5, some say about 7. Impossible to tell. We don't know where he comes from. And male leopards, that's often the case. The females, not so much, simply because, because they hang around in their mother's territories. So if we see them born as cubs,
we normally, and they survive to adulthood, we'll normally see them, we'll know where they go to. But it is interesting to me because so often what would happen is that when I worked down at Londolozi or Tingana up in the north of the Timbavati, a male leopard would appear from nowhere. And somebody would say, you know who he looks like? He looks like that cub that went independent about 2 years ago that's come back now. Now, you know, unless you've got facial recognition technology in your head, the likes of which most sort of spy networks would be proud to own, I don't believe it's possible to tell that with that degree of accuracy, that if you have seen a leopard 2.5 years ago and it comes back again, that you will recognize it. So I think sometimes it wouldn't surprise me at all to find that the DNA analysis of Mvula's scat shows that it isn't him that comes from Lion Sands, that he may have come from somewhere completely different. Because he would have been, while, yes, they may well have followed him until independence, when he popped up over here, how they knew it was him and how he was identified, there's always going to be some kind of a question as to how he was recognized and whether or not it is in fact the same leopard. I'm not saying it isn't, but I think it will be interesting to know. So even though some people will say, oh, well, that's definitely, you know, X leopard from X time, 2 years later, I'm often a little bit suspicious about those sort of assertions. I think people like to know who they are. We had an animal, desperate to show it to you, and we went black screen, unfortunately, and it was an impala, a number of male impala that are now running back into the black screen zone, so I'm not going to follow them. Let's carry on while we have a good picture. Now, this is a very interesting question from Sandy in Florida, and I see where your thought process is going, Sandy, and I think if I am reading you correctly, I think that your guess might actually be a very accurate one. You're saying, is Tingana anywhere near where Mvula had her kill yesterday? Not Mvula, Karula had her kill yesterday. And the answer, Sandy, is no, not at the moment, but when we found his tracks yesterday evening, they were quite close by. So I'm guessing, Sandy, that you think perhaps that slightly full belly that we saw on Tingana is a result of him scavenging off Karula's kill, and that is entirely possible. It is well possible that he came across Karula and the cubs. She would have then scarpered down to the south, left the kill to him, and he would have then eaten the kill and would have been very useful energy for him, given that he was injured and possibly unable to hunt something anything like the size of that impala. The only thing that makes me think that isn't the case is that the kill's gone. So I don't think that he would have been able to finish it. He may have gone in there and had a bite off it to eat. I suspect then that it was lifted by hyenas. When a big male impala like that, which has had hardly anything of it eaten, disappears, it normally means that hyenas have come along, broken it apart and stolen it. Otherwise there'd be a piece of it remaining. There'd be a skull or a horn or a bit of skin, or I mean, if it had been small enough, maybe it would have even been hoisted into the tree there. Jeandre, why is there a look of such extreme displeasure on your face? He's going to tell me just now. Let's go across to Brent so that I can counsel Jeandre and bring him back to happiness.
So we found cheetah tracks, and they've crossing back towards here. So we just came back to check around the pan if they weren't sleeping somewhere in the shade around here. I'm going to go check on northern boundary of cheetah plains, and let's have fingers crossed they haven't crossed towards Nkuhuma. Looking very, very carefully here. And I didn't see any cheetah tracks up ahead. If they have beetled off, we'll go back and I'll show you. And it's a really beautiful, clear track back there. And you can see the claws, and you can see the 3 lobes. Come on, cheetahs. Oh, where has my cheetah gone? Looks like they went for a drink at the pans and would have moved through here. Well done, Marilyn. That red-footed falcon was a new bird on Marilyn's list. Marilyn is now on 153 and the cheetah tracks are here. And they're going towards the boundary. No. Just sleep somewhere close by, cheetah. So from those tracks, it looks like they might have chased something. An impala, likely in this area, maybe a steenbokkie. So Mike is wondering, what is the lifespan of a cheetah in comparison to a leopard? It's generally a few years shorter, not too much shorter, probably 3 or 4 years shorter than a leopard. Come on, please don't. We don't want to find tracks on this road. We want to hope that they're somewhere in here. Just drop down. Those tracks were coming through here. I'm just going to concentrate now. The ground's quite hard, so it can be quite difficult to see tracks. You're looking for tracks there, Bryan? Let's hope they don't cross. No tracks yet. There's a big road or path coming up here. Let's have a look. No tracks. Then we might go back to last track and go have a quick look there. So, Lucy in South Bend, Indiana, is wondering, are cheetah harder to see than leopards when looking for them? Not necessarily, Lucy. So they often lie up in far more conspicuous places, making them a bit easier to spot if you know what to look for. The thing that makes them difficult to see is the fact that they have such a vast home range that they move through. So sometimes you might not see them for a week or two because they're just in a far-flung other reach of their home range. I'm hoping, maybe, fingers crossed, that they caught something, which would mean they are somewhere in here. So we're just looping around this block. So it is another cheetah stick, Bryan. Whoa, cheetah sticks. Cecilia is wondering how endangered cheetah are in Africa. And they are quite endangered. And a lot of that in being endangered is not actually from outside influence. And in certain circumstances, people have actually helped cheetah quite a lot. We take Namibia, for example. It's got a very healthy population of cheetah outside of the wildlife reserves on private farms and things. What happened is that people removed all the lion and leopard, because cheetah are a bit small, they don't really attack cows, lion, leopard, and hyena. So the cheetah was sort of left alone because they weren't hunting the domestic livestock. So they managed to do quite well in that area. But a lot of the cheetah's problems comes down to the fact that they are all very closely related. So there's not a lot of genetic variety, and from the genetics you can trace it back to about 10,000 years ago. There was a massive crash in the cheetah population. No one's exactly sure what caused it, and there were less than 100 left in the whole of Africa. So when you don't have a big sort of selection of genetics or genetic traits to go by, any little disease or something like that will hit the population very hard. So, so that's why they're under threat. They also got a very low sperm count compared to most cats. They're also the only animal that needs a male-dominant sex ratio to breed. So you need to be more males than females. Females will pass 2 or 3 coalitions, maybe more, before deciding to mate. So there's a whole bunch of different reasons why cheetah are quite endangered, and they're probably going to die out in the next 10,000 years naturally, just a failed arm of the evolutionary tree. Okay, so let's go back to Lost Tracks. Di says, methinks Brent's going to be obsessed with cheetahs now. Well, no, Di, I'm obsessed with cats in general and tracking them. It is a really rewarding experience being able to find a track and go on to find that animal before everyone else. It sort of gives you a little bit of a rush. So we're going to continue to try to find those cheetah before everyone else. While we do that, let's go see what James is up to.
Give you a flush. Look, everybody, at the foothills of the Drakensberg Mountains. This we are looking at in the absence of any kind of mammal life, I'm afraid. But because it's a Sunday afternoon, we can take a relaxed look at the blue hills of the Drakensberg in the background. So, those kind of knobbly koppies, as we call them here, which are sort of rocky outcrops, form in a line from the edge of the Drakensberg there all the way into the Sabi Sands, and they terminate on a big koppie inside Mala Mala called Struiskopje. And on one of them is Ulusaba, Sir Richard Branson's lodge. He's got one there. And then they extend along a line which eventually sort of joins the Sand River and terminate, like I say, on Mala Mala. And beyond those, the northern Drakensberg, which extends at least 1,000 kilometers down the escarpment of magnificent South Africa. So we, because we are down below, are called the Lowveld. So we're in what we call the Lowveld, which just basically means low rangeland, if you like. And up above those mountains is the Highveld, which unsurprisingly means the highlands or high rangelands. That is all I have to say about that particular subject at this stage. Let us continue. We have found no tracks either. Came into the area where we thought Shadow might have popped her head earlier today, unless, as Jeandre postulated, it was Karula who's come back to see what else she might be able to eat, given that her kill was stolen last night. Unsurprising that her kill was stolen, of course, a big male impala. She'd have struggled to hoist it into that very strange tree that she put it underneath, and so I'm not surprised in the slightest that the hyenas probably took it, and I'm also not surprised in the slightest that she may well have actually abandoned it as it got dark with those youngsters and taken them away because of the risk posed by having a rotting carcass at night with those two little cubs. And of course, as most of us know, she did lose her last cub to a hyena. To two hyenas, two nasty hyenas. Here are some impalas, Jeandre. Let us stop and be grateful for our Sunday afternoon impalas. Male impalas. There you are, Chris. You're looking at it. You want to know what the most abundant animal is. I suppose it's not the most abundant animal, it's the most abundant mammal that we get here, is the impala, I think. Unless there's something small like a bushveld gerbil, which there are many of that we don't know of. But I think you'll find that certainly the most abundant large mammal would be this impala, Chris. The most abundant animal, remember, includes anything from the animal kingdom and would probably, therefore, be one of the termite species. So whichever termite species is the most common, possibly the fungus-growing, the large fungus-growing termite, which makes those big mounds, Macrotermes natalensis, I'm going to guess that that is the most abundant animal in this area. What do you think the least abundant animal is, Jeandre?
James.
I'm going to show you. Least abundant animal, everyone. Well, until very recently he was the least abundant. He's now non-existent, of course, and that is the ever sad pinchy whiner. That's where he used to live. He was the only freshwater crab that lived here, and the least abundant crustacean, or of all animals here on Nkuhuma, was pinchy whiner, the freshwater crab, who lived alone in that very sad little cave. A buffalo sat on it a little while back, and pinchy whiner, as far as we know, has gone to the great freshwater place where crabs go when they die. And I drove into town a few days ago, and I had to drive into town because despite the fact that I'm now a minor internet celebrity with 27 Twitter followers, I am still required to do mundane tasks like go and fetch water for Jeandre to drink, buy bananas for him to eat because he eats 37 a day, and that sort of thing. And as I was driving out there, Eugene said to me, Eugene had to go to the airport, he said to me that the cattle in the area seemed to be looking much better, and I had to agree with him. So I think it's Katie in South Bend, Indiana. You want to know if the water has brought some relief to the drought-stricken animals and perhaps vegetable gardens and crops of the local people outside here, and the answer is yes, it has. Definitely, it's caused a flush of grass, and so the cattle, while not looking anything like as magnificent as the buffalo here, they're certainly looking a lot better than they did when I left here for my leave, which was about 3 weeks ago. The cattle were looking absolutely horrendous, and they were staring down the barrel of a large-scale starvation. Now, this is not to say that we're out of the woods, for while it does look verdant green everywhere you look over here, that is a kind of a false sense of security. The water table is still very low. We've had a bit of rain that's caused this flush, which is wonderful, but the water table is not going to be anything like as high as it would normally at this time of year, which means that as we go into the dry season, which is our winter time, any time from sort of May on to November, sometimes it can go that long without any rain at all. And if we've had a normal season of rain, that's no problem at all. But now we haven't. We've had probably about a third of the rain that we would normally. And so while it looks green now, if we don't get any further rain, come November or October, when the spring starts and the heat really starts to build, there's going to be trouble. So those animals that are looking much better in the communities out in the villages, yes, they're looking better, but they're not out of the woods. And that means, of course, the poverty-stricken people who own them are also still staring down the barrel of a real shortage. So it's a difficult time. Let's have another look at the vista, given that there's nothing else to look at. Jeandre, I will stop the car as you've asked me to, without leaking forward endlessly. There we go. That is due east, everybody. That is due east over the Greater Kruger National Park. Brent is somewhere out there, driving around, probably at 70 miles an hour, tracking cheetahs. That's where Cheetah Plains is, just underneath that sort of cloud you can see on the right-hand side there. And Charmaine, I think it is, in Britain. Is that Charmaine or Charlene? I've forgotten. Rebecca? Charmaine in the UK. You're a bird lover and you want to know a bit more about the birds here, and have any of the migratory birds left, or have they all left? Certainly some have left. The Wahlberg's eagles have absconded. They're in North Africa already. Most of the woodland kingfishers have gone. I did see 2 the other day. Then I heard the massing of the European bee-eaters yesterday. You hear them massing in the evenings, and they do this for about a week or 2 just before they leave here. You hear them calling high up at night, and then they land again, and then a few days later they will fly. And I think they fly largely at night time. Maybe yesterday was the day that they left, because I haven't heard anything further from the European bee-eaters. Then the starlings, the plum-coloured starlings, were doing the same thing. They were massing on the trees the other day, and they are probably going to leave very soon. So most of the migrants, if they haven't left, are thinking about it and are about to disappear. The barn swallows, interestingly, I did see a few of the other day, and I thought that was quite unusual. I thought they would have gone by now. I suspect that a few of them would have hung around, and although their migratory tendencies are normally triggered by day length, they can also be triggered by food shortage. And while there's been there's an unusual amount of food around for this time of year because of those late rains, and so maybe a few of them have stayed longer than they would have. There you go, Charmaine. Thank you for your question. Just listening to the Game Drive radio. All right, I'm just going to quickly turn to Mike on the radio. He wants to know a little bit. Go ahead, Mike. Mike, you were looking for one of us? Lions apparently heading on to the reserve. Negative, Mike. Can you give me the location? I'm on Balanites Road now. So lions just over here seems to have crossed onto Vuatela. Ooh, so apparently around here possibly. Copy, thank you. Or just south of here. Okay, this is good news. So, Mike just said to me that lions came across from Arathusa, or there were fresh tracks of lions coming from Arathusa on top of the vehicle tracks from this morning. That is odd, in so much as lions don't normally move in the middle of the day, especially on a lovely, relaxed Sunday autumnal day like this. But let's go and have a look. I did see those hyenas that I mentioned to you earlier. I saw them this morning down over there, we're quite close to the western boundary of Nkuhuma, which borders on Arathusa, and apparently the lions came into this block over here, which is quite a thick block. But let's go down the Triple M or Arathusa break, and we'll see if we can't pick up those tracks. It's quite unusual. I wonder if those hyenas weren't perhaps smelling around there this morning for the same reason. Talking about roads there, and Peter, you're in Jacksonville, and you ask how are the roads maintained and do we trim the trees? Yes, we do. Well, we don't. Taxon and Aubrey and the Nkuhuma staff do a lot of the tree trimming, and then they have a whole crew that does road maintenance. And every reserve has a different kind of way of doing it. And I was pleasantly amazed and enthralled by the state of Cheetah Plains' roads yesterday. They were like very smooth highways. So they've obviously just done theirs. So yeah, that's how it works, Jackson. Not from Jacksonville, sorry. Maybe I'm getting myself horribly mixed up today. Just going to watch the road here. There are some male leopard tracks, which is quite interesting, and some monkey tracks. Apparently Tingana did come from this direction, so perhaps it's Tingana's tracks, and he headed off there. He is up further north of us there. Anyway, there's a nice clearing up ahead here. We'll go and reassess things there. Yeah, these are old male leopard tracks. They've got lots of things on them. Yes, Cat in Tampa, I have to ask the same question. Where have all the Ellies gone? Answer is, I don't know. I wish I did. I heard them calling when I was sitting reading my book, like I said to you, but they have since absconded. I don't know, it's so funny with those elephants, you know, they come and they go, suddenly they'll be everywhere, and then suddenly they'll be nowhere. And it is most frustrating. Now, this is one of Tingana's actually relatively favourite routes. He comes past here. In fact, you can see this is exactly what he's done. There is tracks there. You see them there, Jeandre? That's his tracks. There. And there. That's a male leopard track. And what he does is he actually marks this bush. Just there. That sort of silver cluster leaf bush. He marks. You can see the tracks head towards it. He lifts his leg, has a spray, and then continues on his way down here. I think that's precisely what happened yesterday evening. These tracks look to me like they're from yesterday evening. No lion tracks here. Just keep an eye out here in the clearing. Of course, a lion does like to lie on the edge of a clearing. It gives them a good view of things. Someone was around here today looking at these tracks, I think. We'll just keep looking here in case. The interesting thing is that Mvula, who, of course, we know thanks to Raisa, came from Lion Sands, not Tingana. He has been around as a kind of dispersal male at the moment. He seems to have lost his territory or be on the verge of losing it. And so when we see male leopard tracks, the assumption was always, well, they must be Tingana's in this particular area. But they could well be Mvula's, as he kind of stakes out a new life as a lonely, aged male leopard. Just continue down this way. We're going to turn on to what they call the Triple M break, but is basically the boundary between Arathusa and us, and we'll see if we can't pick up those lion tracks. This male leopard has come all the way down here. Let's keep an eye out. This is Arathusa to our right-hand side. This looks like Mike from Cheetah Plains coming up here now, so we'll get an update from him as to exactly what's going on. James, about the tsetse fly. I'm going to answer it now. Let's just get an update here, and then we will carry on. How's it going?
Okay, all right.
Are you well?
Yeah.
Where did the tracks go from?
I haven't found any. Ali updated me that the tracks are over other tracks. So I don't know.
In this area?
Yeah, from Aratuza on the corner there.
Right.
Into the retailer.
And you didn't see anything?
No.
Because there were some tracks coming out further up there, One-Eyed Pan Road, this morning.
I spoke to Ephraim after I heard the update as well, and he reckons that, earlier in the day. There were.
Okay.
So
All right, well, I'll just do a loop around that way.
The tracks or,
Okay.
All right.
Enjoy. Enjoy the drive. Behave yourselves. Okay, behave you too. So, a wonderful question about a fairly unwonderful animal. That is the tsetse fly. And the tsetse fly, the question is basically, how do they affect the other people around this area? Because this is known as an area of tsetse fly. Well, it isn't anymore. That's the thing. So it used to be. It used to be an area known to be riddled with tsetse fly, which of course carries a disease called trypanosomiasis, or sleeping sickness, and that affects livestock and it affects people as well. So what used to happen prior to 1898, people would come into this area only during the winter months. They'd graze their cattle. They'd live here, the transport riders would come through during the winter, and then in summer everyone would clear off, either onto the coastal plain or up into the mountains, where it was cooler, and the tsetse fly would then have only wild animals to eat. Then, in 1898, I think it was, or 1896, one of the two, we had an epidemic called the rinderpest, and it was I think it's a virus that swept through this area, and it basically wiped out all cloven-hooved animals. And what that did was to eventually, it killed off the tsetse fly, quite naturally, killed off the tsetse fly. And so it meant that people were then able to live in the area permanently. And it's also why this area, which became hotly contested after that, I'm just keeping an eye out for the tracks, became hotly contested. You know, the white settlers and the hunters came in and they contested with the Shangaan people who'd been using this area for years and years and years. But it then became possible to live in this area permanently, simply because the tsetse fly was no longer here. So it doesn't affect local people here at all. There's tracks of a herd of buffalo going across here, which is interesting. And were there to be lions following, did you see a lion? Jeandre has seen the lion track. Okay, while we examine these, let's go across to Brent. He's got something interesting to show you.
Alas, the cheetah ventured northwards. So, unfortunately, they are gone, but that is not necessarily the worst thing in the world, because they've got to come back at some stage. So they crossed just over here, somewhere a little bit further ahead, and went heading to the north. So I'm just going to have to update taxon, because they might pop out in Torchwood. Oh, hey! They're taller than Konzo inside at, what's it called? Jacobin Open. Okay. Yeah. Sharp. Come for. Next time.
Next time.
There we are. It's one of the trackers from Chitwa, who was also walking with me through the block. We were looking for those cheetah. So we're going to start heading westwards. Jeff would like to know, what is the main cause of death in adult cheetahs? It's generally run-ins with other predators that sometimes they get injured and then they're unable to hunt. They are very slightly built, so any injury really affects their abilities to hunt. And definitely as they get older, they also get slower. And like all of us, especially James, he thought he could beat me in a race, but not. I'm still going to gloat on that one for a while. So we're going to start heading back towards Djuma so we can be back for Fireside Chat. It is a It is not a short amble from the far-flung east, southeast, but it's been wonderful, nice exploring those beautiful areas with you guys down here, and so exciting, a lot more exploration to come. I can't wait to learn all the little nooks and crannies and little riverbeds and systems, and hopefully we'll be able to pull a leopard that we haven't seen before on drive one of these days. Or an old favorite like Mr. Q. And temperature is dropping quite rapidly. Just get hold of Taxon. Well, James said he was following buffer tracks and looking for the lion tracks, so let's go see how that's going.
Lions! Excuse me, everybody. Here's the Nkuhuma Pride. Joy and rapture, unforeseen. We found the tracks going across the road, well, Jeandre did, and we just thought, you know what, let's quickly drive in on them and see if they're here, and here they are. Isn't that wonderful? So this is the Nkuhuma Pride, and for those of you who don't know who the Nkuhuma Pride is, perhaps you're new, they provide the bulk of our live viewing. 9 lionesses at the moment, my favourite of which is Amber Eyes, so named Jeandre because she has
green eyes.
Amber eyes. Well done, yes, correct. So that's what's going on here, and I wonder if we shouldn't try and call Brent Smith in, simply because we are going... Sorry, Jeandre, he hates it when I turn the wrong way. Simply because we are going to have to go to the Fireside Chat fairly soon. I don't think these lions are going to do anything, certainly not before much later, and probably before it gets dark. But let's spend 5 minutes with them, and then we will head towards the Fireside Chat. I'm just going to call Mike again, because I think he would really like to see these things. Mike, do you copy, Mike? If he ain't listening to his radio, then nothing I can do. Can't help him. I can't help him. And this, of course, is exactly what Tingana was doing. It's exactly what lions do. Why I'm not hearing him. He is trying to communicate with me. There we go. Sorry, Mike, I'm having trouble with my radio here. Did you copy my message? Tracks crossed just south of where I saw you. We've got them here about 150 meters into the block. You'll just follow my vehicle tracks off-road. Now Brent is trying to get hold of me. Go ahead, Brent. The block just east of Triple M Break, north of, well, basically about 300 meters south of the Power Lines Junction. Not Power Lines Junction, south of Ballinitis Junction. Wow.
Bestemming bereikt.
Little clearing or meadow, this little glade of soft soil and nice grass. And they're just resting quietly here. That was well done, Jeandre, of spotting the tracks there.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know, I must give you credit sometimes. I mustn't just abuse you solidly for 3 hours at a time. It's just not nice. All right, we're going to have a quick look at a flower here. If you can, no, we're not even going to do that. I just saw a purple flower, but it's not possible to see it from where you happen to be sitting, I'm afraid. So let's sit here 2 more minutes, and then we'll head towards the fireside chat. I wonder if it might be a good idea to bring Brent in here, but I'm not sure. There, the lioness now sitting up, Jeandre, if you don't mind there. There, that's amber eyes there on the right, on the left-hand side. You can see definitely orange eyes compared with the sort of pale gold of the lioness on the right-hand side. Just see, you can even see that at this distance. And I wonder if they aren't hearing the buffalo further forward. They will, of course, trail them and then sort of hang off the back until the cover of darkness affords them the chance to move in and hunt. Sorry, I'm going to have to get on the radio again, everybody. They're off Triple M, not Gowrie, Main. You'll see my vehicle's tracks going east off the road there, about 300 meters to the south of Ballanite's junction. It is the Nkuhuma pride. So what we're going to do is get Brenty in here. He can spend a bit of time with these lions while we set up the fireside chat. Ooh. Now, Bryan, you want to know about the dangers of walking around here, and of course you've seen that Brent was off tracking. I've done a little bit of tracking today on foot, and you say, is it not extremely dangerous? The answer, Bryan, is no, it's not extremely dangerous. It can be dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. So if you walk around here and you blundered into the lions and they stood up and they got a fright and then you ran away from them, for example, that would be dangerous. It is only dangerous, as with most situations in life, if you don't know what to do in any situation. So out here, if we came across these lions, or if Brent came across lions while he was tracking on cheetah plains, he would have known what to do. He would have stood still when he saw them, moved backwards, sort of facing them, and then walked off gently into the bush. And that makes it undangerous. So, you know, a lot of people would like to tell you that this is a particularly dangerous thing to do. The job that I do is full of danger. It's much more full of adventure and fun than it is full of danger. And I maintain that your chances of being wiped out in a car accident are far greater than they are of being hurt by an animal out here, if you know what you're doing, if you're trained and you know exactly what to do. And that's the position that we find ourselves in. Yes, of course, you can have a situation where something unpredictable happens. You walk around a bush and there's a buffalo that gets a fright, and that can be potentially dangerous, yes. But no, by and large, this is not a dangerous thing. Okay, we're going to head across to Brent Leo Smith. He's going to bring you back to the sighting now. We're going to head off to the fireside chat, and I will see you in the smoke and golden flames in about 35 minutes.
So we have managed to return to the confines of, well, not the confines, the vastness of Nkuhuma, and we're going to head towards those lions while James goes and sets up Fireside Chat. The last time, actually, it was me that had to leave lions for Scott to go and set up Fireside Chat, so I'm quite happy this one's working in my favor today. Barbara Good thinks she's being quite amusing, saying in future we should look for sticks and we should find the cheetah. I think that's probably not a bad idea, Barbara. So quite often we stop probably 5-6 times a day for sticks, termite mounds and whatnot that we think might be one of the big cats. So it always pays to check, because maybe the 7th time it's going to be a big cat. But a stunning, stunning evening. It is starting to get on the slight nippy side. Bryan is already layered up. I, of course, am much tougher than Bryan, so I wasted about 3 minutes longer. Oh, hello, monkeys! Where are you off to? On their way to find a nice tree to sleep in. They always look guilty. Like they've just done something wrong or they're about to. They're my little monkeys. We've got some lions to go look for. Oh dear, man. Oh, interesting. I hear a go away bird alarming. Very upset go away bird. Oh, and a bird we haven't seen for a while, but we're in a bit of a hurry, so we'll have a quick look before moving on. There's a saddle-billed stork. Here we go. Sorry, Mr. Saddlebill, we've got lions to go see. Hello, hello, hello. How's everyone doing? Just to check, the Nkuhumas they've just found them near Triple M somewhere on our side. I'll let you guys know if they cross. Oh, cheers. Enjoy, guys. Oh, here we go. So Lucy is wondering, are lions' mating habits similar to leopards or cheetahs? Well, the only one that is probably quite different is the cheetah. In principle, lions and leopard are quite similar, except it's more of the male doing the chasing with lions and the females doing the chasing in leopards. Now, I think this is the longest we would have ever driven down Gowrie Main from nearly the whole road. Who's a new viewer? Chris is wondering, what the heck is a Fireside Chat? What are we going on and on about? So, Chris, a Fireside Chat is a fun time where we gather around the fire and discuss some of the week's happenings. And of course, we've had some really exciting happenings this week. Starting to drive on cheetah plains, seeing cheetah on cheetah plains, as well as Karula's cubs. Now, Karula is a female leopard, and we saw her little cubs that are about 2 months old. So we've had a very exciting week. So we're just going to recap, show you a few clips of what's happened, and then James might play you a little song if he's in the mood. Sorry, I just need to listen to the Game Drive channel here quickly. Okay, 1 second. That lovely light. Absolutely spectacular. Mike. Mark, confirm I will see the vehicle tracks. Busy road today. Confirm I'll see your Morvo and Quattro. Unfortunately, what's happened is the cheetah were found on an Nkuhuma, which has led to which has led to this great dust storm of vehicles heading towards there. So I'm just going to try not cough myself to death. Bryan has already covered up his mouth, and this is of course going to get worse and worse, the dust, as we head into the dry season. But I like it. It's good, clean dirt, and it makes for spectacular sunsets and easy tracking. There you go, you can see how that dust's just sitting there. Wondering what's the temperature drop like here, so from which to which. So I'd say our high today was around 28 degrees Celsius, and I think our low in the evening tonight might get down 15 degrees, maybe not. 15 degrees Celsius might be the lowest it gets, but as we move into June, July, we often drop below 10 degrees Celsius, which is very cold when you're in an open game drive vehicle. The cameramen, of course, get it worse for us because they sit out in the open. At least I got an engine in the way to block a bit of the wind. So Sandy's wondering, are the lions anywhere near Karula's Kill from yesterday? No, they are not. They're quite far. Karula's Kill is probably about 2 kilometers that way. They're on the closer to the boundary with Arathusa. Sorry guys, I was listening to the game drive there. Oh, incoming! This is a Franklin, a suicidal one. Keith would like to know whether I'll be putting on my dancing shoes this evening on Fireside Chat. Well, I have to say, Keith, it depends on what type of song James plays. So we're looking for the tracks that Jeandre's made into the bush here. Should be somewhere around here. So forgive me, I'm just concentrating and making sure I don't miss the turnoff. And avoiding the bumpty bumps. Okay, I see a whoop, whoop, whoop. Must be here somewhere, James. Here's the tracks of a herd of buffalo crossing, and that's, of course, what James was looking at. There we go. I can see the way in, I think. So, hold on. Hopefully those Nkuhuma ladies are about to get moving. Now we're just trying to track the vehicle tracks. And And of course, tracking is one of my favorite things, and I do love finding animals on foot. It's very exciting. And it's also... Oh, this is a dangerous branch. Oh. Uh-oh. Bryan, you ready?
Not ready.
Okay. Danger. There we go. I think let's remove this one. So there's something incredible about testing yourself and going off and following the slightest, tiniest little tracks and finding one of these incredible animals. Now, does it look like... Right there. Okay, we're nearly there now. This is one of the biggest blocks without a road on Nkuhuma. So James has done a sterling job at finding them in here because it's very big. And there we go. Oopsie. Oh, car not sounding very healthy all of a sudden. How's that, Bryan? There we go, some lazy lions. It looks like they have fed quite well recently. Some of them at least. So we're going to sit here in case they get moving. If they don't, we'll dash off towards Fireside Chat for a nice catch-up on what's been happening this week. Karula and cubs and cheetah on cheetah plains this morning. Now, when you look at lions like this, they look like wonderful little kitty cats. And it's hard to believe there's that massive latent energy, that incredible power in the dominant predator in the African savanna. Only one cat species in the world that's bigger than them, and it's the tiger. Also, lions are the only social cat in the world, which is absolutely fascinating. A lot of that to do is when they evolved into their current form, there was lots of pressure from early man, as well as giant hyena that were about the size of water buck and saber-toothed cats. So with so many other apex predators around, they decided, or not, they evolved to become a close-knit group. It also enables them to take down bigger prey species. And it is fascinating. All 5 Nkuhuma girls are here, so nice to catch up with them. And I don't think they're going to get moving in any time too soon. It's a very interesting time of the day now, as the sort of characters change, and you can hear birds have gone quite quiet. There is the odd francolin making a racket. You can hear a little Sterling's barred warbler as well tinking away. And shortly we're going to be hearing nightjars and owls, and the lions might get up and move, and hyenas are going to start marching around. Leopards slinking through the darkness, hunting things. So we came here in case they got moving, but judging from their body language, there are none of the precursor signs. There's no leg stretches, there's no yawning. They look very, very set. And the only thing is the odd ear twitch to avoid the ferocious biting stable flies. Mike? Mike? Do you want me to move for you? Do you want me to move for you? No, I think it's fine. I'll do a little zigzag around in the small car. Okay, we're gonna make space for those three girls we're a bit far away from. And the joy of having a short-wheeled base vehicle is that we are able to maneuver through some of the areas that longer vehicles struggle with a little bit. Of course, we don't think it's the vehicle, we think it's our individual brilliance as drivers. I think it's mostly the car. There we go. A different view of lazy lions. Oh, there's a tiny leg stretch there. Bryan doesn't think they're going to move, unless I agree with Bryan. They just look so placid, so calm, and it's amazing how they can just change in an instant and become one of the most ferocious beasts in the world. And looking at them now, you wouldn't think they're capable of great violence. But exciting prospects for the sunrise safari is that I think they might head deeper into Jeandre. They might even pop up at quarantine. Well, there's a yawn. Oh. Now that looks like the youngest female. We were calling a sub-adult. Definitely not a sub-adult anymore. Definitely a young adult. Oh, here comes the yawn. Oh, and a lick. Hello, doof. Oh, are we going to be spoilt with a bit of movement? walk over and say hello to one of the others. Oh, there we go, fat tummy. Fat tummy. And I don't think it's babies, I just think it's a full belly. So they have eaten well while they've been missing. I think it was just a change of sleeping spot, not a time to get up, stretch and walk across. Sometimes lions, like certain humans, take quite a while to wake up and sort of stretch, doze. So, as you can see, lions tend to lie in piles. And Tony's saying the lionesses seem so comfortable they lie on top of each other. That is true, Tony, and it's quite an important thing when it comes to lion social dynamics. Now, you often find that the closer a pride lies together and the more allo grooming they do, the better chance they have for success. So the closer the pride is, there's a better sense of camaraderie or teamwork that can be used in hunting or even defending their area. So very important that the lions are able to be very comfortable with each other, and that's what makes them the apex predator here, is those incredible relationships between the individuals in the pride. So Mommy Jew's wondering, is the youngest lioness able to have cubs yet? So she probably can mate, but it's unlikely she's going to have cubs until she's about 4. So not just yet, but she will start mating with males already. Oh, something was biting quite painfully, causing that lioness to swing its tail around. So I don't think these lines are going to move, and we're going to have to start moving towards the fire so we can have a nice little chit-chat about what's going on, and hopefully the Nkuhumas will be around on the sunrise safari. I'm just going to wait for the other vehicle to come in, so I'll just have a quick look. Keep coming. And you can see all those flies on her back. Oh, that's a big fly. Oh, I've forgotten that fly's name. You see, it's got a very massive red head. It doesn't have a common name. It's only got a scientific name. I have to show it to you in the book. It's quite a grotesque-looking creature. Definitely something out of a nightmare. Massive fly. So let's leave these lovely ladies and head towards the Fireside Chat. As you can see, not much movement. So while we move out of these lines, Maurice is wondering how are new lion prides formed? Well, Maurice, there's a couple of different ways. The most common way how a new lion pride is formed is when a pride gets very, very big. So, for example, I used to see a pride of lions called the Mountain Pride, and they actually made a documentary about them. That was called the Mega Pride, and they got to over 40 individuals in that pride, and that is when they split. So it just became very difficult for a pride of that size to feed. And I mean, I saw them in one night kill 4 zebras. So obviously having a big number has some advantages. It's easier to take down animals like buffalo, hippo, and giraffe. And it is a fascinating thing, that. But also it means they often have to catch those really big prey species. So there's bonuses and there's negatives. But in this part of the world, most prides are sort of between 5 and 10, maybe a little bit more. But that is the way most prides are formed. You must remember that those prides will always be made up of related females. So they're not going to join up with a non-related female. So it's always related females. Moms, aunties, cousins, daughters, and the males are the ones that move through and move out of their natal area. Oh, we're nearly out of the block. We only nearly got whacked once by a branch, so fortunately we were able to avoid it. So Miss Lynn is wondering, do any of the large or small cats eat fish? Now, yes, they do. Well, leopard, I've seen leopard eat catfish. I've actually seen lion once eat catfish. I'm not too sure about the smaller cat species. I've never seen them eat any fish. But the golden cat that lives in the rainforests of Gabon has been, or never been seen catching fish, but there's scat. In its scat and its dung, there have been fish bones found. So whether it scavenged or actually hunted that fish, we don't know. But it definitely ate it there. So it seems like Fireside Chat has got a little gremlin in it. So you're going to be with me until they get that fixed. So we're going to be moving towards the fire together. Apparently not. They have fixed it. A couple more seconds till they're sure that it is 100% fixed, and we will be jumping across, or not jumping, elegantly wandering across towards James and Jeandre. Unless, of course, we find a marauding group of wild dogs chasing Impala on the way home. Anything's possible out here in the bush. So, enough of myself and Bryan for the next little bit. Let's go see what Jamie and James are up to next to the fire.
Good evening, everybody. Look at the camera, Sam. We're live. Welcome to this Fireside Chat, a very special Fireside Chat, because it is the very first Fireside Chat of Sam Chevalier, who has joined us from Cape Town, where everything happens extremely slowly. So it is quite nice to have him out here. It's a bit different from Brent Smith, of course, who moves at 150,000 miles an hour. Sam Chevalier moves at roughly the same speed as a slowly moving glacier. This was evidenced by his performance just before his town trip today, where he was supposed to leave at 9:30 and was found to be fetching water for himself at 10 to 10. Oblivious
as to why there should be any consternation that he was leaving late. This is not his fault. It is because he grew up in Cape Town, where things don't happen very fast at all. So, we have half an hour with you, and it's a great joy to be chatting around the fire, as it is all over Africa around this time of the day, where people sit around the fire and share stories with each other. We're going to talk about Sam, and to Sam. We're also going to be talking about Karula and her little baby tiny cubs that you managed to see and I didn't.
It was a coin flip.
It was a coin flip, actually. We'll tell you about that too. Then we're going to talk about the excitement of cheetah planes, the introduction there, and of course the not so ironic thing that we saw cheetah on the cheetah planes, which is marvellous. But before we do that, Brent Smith, of course, is going to be hieing from the lion sighting, where he is now. He will join us very shortly. While we do that, let's get a little bit of an introduction to Sam. So, Sam, a question from Kathleen in Pennsylvania. She'd like to know... That's very nice. She'd like to know what your training is, what your experience is, how did you come to be here? Tell us a little bit about how you came to be where you are, speaking with your beautifully slow Cape Townian way here in the wilds of the northeastern corner of South Africa.
Thank you, Kathleen. I'll try and make this as slow or quick as possible. We'll see how it goes. You know, it's been incredible coming through to Djuma Game Reserve. My training was at Londolozi Game Reserve, which is probably about 10 to 20 miles to the south of us. And wow, it was such an incredible time where I spent a lot of time on my own in terms of walking those roads. And I had to understand the roads and also to see what it was like to be in the wild on my own. And I also did a number of trainings with some of the head rangers there. So that was my main training. But other than that, I did a lot of my own training, which is to understand the world that I live in, to understand the ecology that surrounds us. And I went from Londolozi to the Cederberg Mountains just north of Cape Town. Incredible, incredible wilderness that is so different, but so uniquely beautiful in its own way. From the black eagle to the beautiful Cape leopard and the caracal, which is exceptionally difficult and rare to see over there. So here, the abundance of the savannah is incredible, and it's such a privilege to be around Jamie and James and Brent, because they've had a lot of experience here, and you know, I'm really thrilled, and I was nervous taking on this task, Kathleen. I was quite scared, but to have presenters and other people that are on the team that are so richly experienced, I feel very privileged to be immersed in that kind of space. So, yeah, I hope that answers a little bit of your question. And
Absolutely.
I think it does, and I think, I mean, I don't know, what did you want to say something?
I was just going to say I'm so emotional now.
Yeah.
But this was spoke not in our favour again tonight.
I just also wanted to say that it's a great privilege to have Sam here, because he doesn't come from exactly the same background that Brent and Jamie and I do. And, I mean, your last experience was your master's, which was done in biomimicry. We're not going to get into that now. He's going to teach you that over the course of the next probably 10 years. You might get to the bottom of it after a decade or so of Sam presenting. It's actually making me cry as well,
Just the
learning all of that. Anyway, so Sam's going on a journey of discovery here, and he brings with him a wealth of interesting ecological knowledge, sort of big picture Gaia knowledge, which I think is just a real joy to have around here. Get out of the way, Jamie, sit down. Thank you so much. Okay, let's move on from Sam on to Karula, and I'm going to hand over to Jamie here to introduce you to what you're about to see.
Well, we've had the most extraordinary time that we've spent with Karula, and Brent initially on the sunrise safari, and then myself on the sunset safari. And I have to be honest, I didn't think we were going to see them on the sunset safari, and it was as I was pulling out of the sighting, I knew that they were there, and I didn't want to spend too long with other guides wanting to come and have a look. But just as I was pulling out, she started contact calling. Right, I think that the lovely ladies in Final Control have a clip prepared for you, so let's have a look.
Guys, Karula's brought her cubs to Djuma. We've been tracking her. Look at the little guy. We just came around the corner. We're just going to keep very still. Isn't this amazing? Look. Here they come. Oh, my goodness. Isn't this exciting? This is incredible. You can hear all the birds, alarm calling at them. Oh, look at that. It's so cute.
This is incredible. I'm actually shaking. This is hands down one of the most extraordinary wildlife experiences I have ever had in my life. Number 2 is a little bit more shy, but there you go, they can climb the trees. They can climb trees. It's okay, little one. Little one. Hi. Hello, gorgeous. It's okay. Now, I have to say that was one of the most extraordinary sightings I have ever experienced. And I think it's the anticipation as well. It's been that build-up, that 2 months of knowing that Karula has cubs somewhere and just waiting for her to bring them across and to show them to us. And it really was to watch that little, they sound like frogs. It's incredible. I mean, I totally went into, I don't think I talked about one fact. I don't think I spoke about anything that was of any interest. I just cooed. It was very girly. No, it was quite embarrassing. Yes, I cooed.
It was pink.
I cooed.
It was pink. Okay. Well, Jamie didn't, in fact, find them initially. That was initially Brent Leo Smith, who was going to join us now.
Hello.
Hello, Brent. Why don't you walk in front of the lens?
I know, it was dark out
well
there.
Done.
Hello, everyone.
Yes.
And so you put me on the short side in the smoking.
Yes, correct. And so, Brent, you found them in the morning. Tell us about your immediate emotion when you first spotted them.
Panic. Absolute panic. Trying to get final control to crash cuts. Fiddling for radios. It was so exciting. So what happened is we'd found her tracks earlier. We heard the tracks on quarantine, which we thought might have been her, so we jumped ahead thinking she had gone quite far, and it turned out those were male tracks. So we left them, and I said to Jeandre, let's just go back and check. And then as I looked down at the ground, I saw a set of tracks going back, and I was like, oh dear, she's come and she's gone already. And we drove around a blind corner. Smoke.
Yes.
We drove around a blind corner, and literally there they were, in the road, 5 meters from us. It was incredibly exciting.
Yeah.
Wah. Okay, wah. That's the emotion. You cooed.
I cooed,
You
and
went
Brent
wah.
says wah.
Now then, you went back later on with Mr. Chevalier here, and Sam, you saw a leopard cub on foot.
Yes.
How did that feel?
Yes. So it was incredible. So it was the first time I've ever seen a leopard cub on foot. So young. I've never actually seen a leopard cub on foot or in a vehicle. Let me just say that. It was incredible. We went. Brent woke me up. He was like, we're going for a walk to see if we can find them. We got in the vehicle. We were going, and I was like, okay, so where are we going to go and where are we going to stop? We got out the vehicle. We walked for about 50 meters, and then poof, there was Karula. And Karula went off to the side, and the two cubs just got up and they looked at us. And I just
didn't run.
I just wanted to stay there, but Brent had to pull me back.
It's not a good idea to stay with the leopard cub and her mother.
No.
That normally results in some fairly terrifying growling.
Yeah. But it was an incredible experience to be able to look at those cubs, and my heart just went, I don't know, ba-bang.
Ba-bang. Okay, so we've got cooing, we've got wah, and we've got ba-bang. And Wicked Ange, you say that you were very terrified, of course, for those cubs, because for a long time we didn't know if they had survived. And I know that there were a few amongst our number who shall remain nameless, who will probably not put their hands up, who said, there we go, well done, you brave people, who said that Karula's cubs had expired, that they had gone off before their time, and I just had a feeling. It was based on nothing other than a simple feeling that perhaps they were alive, and what a joy it is. And we now have them. A little bit unjoyful that she's spending quite so much time south of us with them. And so we hope that she does bring them forward or north to spend a bit more time with us here on Nkuhuma. Right, let us move on from Karula. We have a packed show, as I said to you earlier. And from Karula, We went to Cheetah Plains yesterday, and I think you've been there, I've been there, you have yet to go there. The only reason Jamie was at the Leopard and I was at the Cheetah Plains yesterday was we flicked a coin to see who would go to the Leopard Cubs and who would go to Cheetah Plains. I don't think either of us really minded which way we go, because being at Cheetah Plains was such an enormous privilege and excitement. Have a look at our first drive. From the giant plains of Cheetah Plains, 550 hectares here in the southern northern Sabi Sands. Here is the boundary of the Kruger National Park. This is so exciting. And you can even see where the fence used to go. So this is it, everybody. Across there is the Kruger National Park. Running away there is a jackal, everybody. And that is a, look at its white tip. It's a side-striped jackal. Wonderful to see it in the middle of the day, and it's no coincidence that we're here in a clearing and the jackal is there. There's a black-backed jackal. And there's a pair of them, and that's what you'd expect. You'd expect a pair of them to be in a clearing like this. 2 species of jackal in one. So there you go, everybody. That is a little taste of the new reserve that we've been having a look at. 550 hectares, a very nice little safari lodge there. And some of the characters from there, of course, that we've been meeting over the years. Ephraim, with his slightly nasal tones on the radio. Lovely man that he is. He's a tremendously friendly fellow, and it's lovely to be in closer proximity and operating with him. And, of course, just Craig has recently left, and he has been replaced by Mike, who we've been seeing quite a lot of, and of course the head ranger there is Andrew. We've been seeing him. I think is it a 12-bed or 20-bed lodge? Okay, we don't know how many beds it is. I think it's a 20-bed lodge, something like that. Oh, whoops. And they obviously traverse a huge number of areas, so if you ever want to come out here and you ever stay there, it really is a very good spot to stay, because you traverse Torchwood and Buffelshoek and Vuyatela, where we sit now, and indeed onto Arethusa. So lots going on there.
And you might get to see our ugly mugs.
Yes, you might get to see our ugly mugs.
Now, that first drive that you went on, as the tears streamed from my face, James, you saw the 2 different species of jackal, am I correct? Now, Heidi, watching in Switzerland, she would like to know a little bit more about jackal's habitat, what they feed on, and how many cubs they have. How many pups they have, sorry.
Yes, the answer is no cubs, of course.
No cubs.
Let me take over from you there. So, Heidi, 2 jackal species, and unusual to find them in the same place. I mean, that really doesn't happen very often. The side-striped, much more solitary. The black-backed, we saw 2 of them, and not surprisingly, they live far more in pairs. And I guess the most obvious difference between their diet would be the black-backed has a far more meat diet. It's a much more of a carnivore. They are both quite omnivorous, but a black-backed is a renowned scavenger and hunter of small mammals, whereas the side-striped, well, probably eats quite a lot more fruit. And that's where the jackalberry gets its name from, actually, from jackals eating the fruit of the jackalberry. And they will also eat probably smaller things. They'll probably eat a few more berries and that sort of thing than do the black-backed jackal. Then pups. They do have pups. And normally born in little burrows under the ground, and they're not so much in termite mounds. I mean, it's often sort of subterranean, which is quite interesting. So probably also termite mounds, but not the Macrotermes fungus-growing termites, probably an Odontotermes mound that's been excavated. So often subterranean. It's a different kind of termite, and that's basically where they're born. And if I'm not mistaken, anyone can correct me here, I think it's 2 to 3 pups. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think it's often much more than that.
Record I've seen blackbacks with 6 once.
Okay.
Wow. So there we go. Does happen.
Up to 6.
We had 3 pups, 4. So with the side stripes on Arethusa airstrip not so long ago.
Okay. So far fewer than a wild dog would have, and far fewer perhaps than a domestic dog. And I don't know about a wolf, but I'm assuming that a wolf would probably also have up to 12, 13, 14 pups sometimes.
As I know.
So I think that's how it goes there.
Talking a little bit about animal homes and where they go and burrow, of course, we've got our fantastic spotted hyena den up across on Aubrey's Road, and I popped past there, it's a little guilty pleasure that I like to go and just spend a bit of time with them. So I took my little brother there this afternoon. It's the first time he's ever seen spotted hyenas in the wild. But Cindy wanted to know whether we have any idea about the concept, or whether there are any spotted hyenas denning on the plains, and if we have any ideas where they might be. Now, I haven't been there more than a couple of times. I don't know.
I tend to think that our clan extends onto Cheetah Plains.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, we know that our males definitely do go south into Little Gowrie. Whether they go that far east, I don't know.
Possibly it could be a Mala clan coming up from the Sand River there. There were quite a lot of hyena tracks. We didn't see any hyenas. But there's always a possibility there could be a den in one of those big, thick blocks on the crest.
And some of them are quite thick.
Very thick blocks.
Some of them would make a chimpanzee nervous. They're so thick. Anyway, so it's unlikely that there's a den. I'm pretty sure that the rangers there, who are very experienced, would know that if there was a den there. So as Brent says, if that is a separate clan territory, it's highly likely that the clan is based probably south on Mala Mala. So it's just to give you an idea, Cheetah Plains is south of us. I mean, you've seen us driving along the, what we call the Gowrie Main Road, which is that southern boundary, fairly main road. And all the way to the properties to the south of that, we don't traverse. And obviously, we've got to go quite a long way east before we then turn south onto Cheetah Plains. So it isn't actually conjoined to Vuyatela. So yeah, it's all a voyage of a discovery for us. We don't exactly know what's going on there, but I'm sure if we see a hyena that is local to us, all of our hyena resident experts, Chris Rogue and Shell in Detroit, you will definitely be able to identify them, and you'll be able to tell us if they are from our own clan, or perhaps we'll start a whole new adventure of discovery with the new hyenas of the area.
So exciting.
That is very exciting indeed. Now, of course, Cheetah Plains, Brent, is known for?
Cheetah!
Yes, well done.
Thank you.
Would you like to take us through your sighting today?
It was a little bit challenging. It was quite far, but it was really great that we actually got to see some cheetah on the Cheetah Plains. And they actually passed right through the middle of Cheetah Plains, past 3 in a row pan, and they were found in Nkoro late this evening. But unfortunately, we weren't able to find them again, but we saw them this morning, and I won't lie. As much as a lot of you know, I love tracking things and following footprints. This morning, I tracked a car. I saw the car on the other side of the boundary suddenly go from sort of do boop boop and start burning dust down the boundary. So I said to Bryan, no, let's go. Look where he's going, because you don't go at that speed if there's nothing there. And we were lucky enough to actually get a view of those 2 male cheetah atop a termite mound.
Right, have a look at the clip.
Cheetah! Cheetah! Cheetah on Cheetah Plains! Oh, look at that! Look how streamlined and sleek it is. Built for speed. Oh, they're up and on the move, both of them. What have they spotted? Congratulations to Liz in Wisconsin. Her first cheetah sighting. Yay! High five. There we go. The killer bees are back. Cheetah, lions, you know, that's how we roll. So,
No, one.
so wasn't that wonderful? So those are the same 2 male cheetah we have seen occasionally on Djuma, but they tend to keep towards those more open areas on the eastern side, on the Kruger boundary. And it is wonderful and open there, hence the name Plains. So really, really great. Initially, we thought it was Gabbro, but obviously we hadn't spent much time down there. And now we're pretty sure it's Sodic sites, so not Gabbro, but very, very productive areas of short grass and herbs. So although we haven't, oh, Mr. Wildebeest, actually we saw one wildebeest on the plains today. Although we haven't seen a lot of sort of the grazing species, there's large herds of buffalo and wildebeest and zebra will move through that area, especially as it gets more dry.
And also perhaps some mechanical clearing that's been on. I mean, we do know that lots of Sabi sands has been mechanically cleared, and that's not a bad thing necessarily, because obviously, you know, it has thickened over the years, so it's entirely possible that there was some mechanical clearing, correct?
Yeah, it looks quite old, though.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Probably 70s, late 70s, when there was a lot of that clearing going on.
Would you be able to explain quickly what mechanical clearing is?
Well, mechanical clearing is the clearing of bush using means
Bulldozer.
other than elephants. So either by hand or with a bulldozer. Yeah, and so, I mean, there are large sections of the Sabi sands that have been cleared like that. And look, we could go into long debates about whether you should or you shouldn't, but the simple fact of the matter is that we don't know what this area looked like. Go into long debates. I mean, the justification for it is always, well, we're trying to make it as natural as it was before. No one knows what it was before, and so we manage according to the animals that we want to see, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Andreen, a question from you about how we prepared for knowing our way around Cheetah Plains, and I'm going to ask Jamie how many hours a day she spent studying the map of Cheetah Plains.
Endless hours, James. Hours and hours. I just sat, my bedtime reading was the Cheetah Plains map. Honestly, it's the journey of discovery. That, I think, is the most exciting thing. And you'll find that with all guides, that's half the fun, is going there, getting lost. Although I think it might be quite difficult. I haven't been to Cheetah Plains properly. I don't know how easy it is
I
to
made
get
a brief
lost.
visit to Chitwa by mistake yesterday.
Okay.
I nearly did nearly went to a nets this morning.
So, yes. I mean, the only thing I did was basically to just look through a few of the leopards that I think we can see there in Kanyeni and Tandi and brush up on what their spot patterns are. And that was pretty much all I did. A little bit of research, of course, into my memory banks of Gabbro Plains, but that, of course, has been shelved again because there aren't any Gabbro Plains.
We'll have to wait
there.
till we extend our travels even more.
Yes, exactly, to the Gabbro Plains of Torchwood, perhaps. They definitely have got Gabbro Plains there. Sam, are you looking forward to going to Cheetah Plains?
I'm thoroughly looking forward to going to Cheetah Plains. Well, I was actually there just yesterday or 2 days ago. I had to go and help some of the guys that were setting up the mast to protect them from any wildlife that came around them.
To protect them?
Well, yes.
Did you protect them?
Protected them thoroughly.
That is excellent news. These are the two fellows who put up the mast and ate most of the food camp. Our food budget will never be the same, but they did a great job because we don't seem to have any sort of signal break-up at all. And just to give you an idea, I mean, it's not a question of just organising a traversing agreement and then driving onto the land. I mean, I took you to, or those of you watching yesterday, I took you to that mast. I mean, it's quite a production. It took I think the concrete plinths were put in probably 3 weeks before to dry. Then these guys came out and erected this 21-metre pole. And I mean, some of you watched it happen and filmed it for Jerry's 52-part series on the Cheetah Plains mast erection. Watch out for it on a channel nearby. And she's going to kill me later. But Brent, you filmed a lot of it, and it was really impressive the way they pulled that thing up.
It was, so they brought it through in pieces, and each piece weighs 70 or 80 kilograms.
Okay.
And there were about 9
That's
pieces.
about 200 pounds each.
Yeah, about 9 pieces. They assembled them on site, and then basically got a funny little... Hello, hyena.
Hyena's heading Brent, he's talking rubbish.
This really funny little pole that they stand there. And the funniest thing was, it was amazing watching the guy once he's up. I mean, he's balancing. He just locks his feet in. It was raining and windy, and he starts undoing things, just like balancing 20 meters in the air, starts fiddling around, but it was really incredible. The actual erection process took about 5 minutes once they got it on the winch.
Yeah.
But it was incredible.
And then they put you?
No, I was just going to say it was actually fascinating to watch that whole process of going up. And I had to leave afterwards with all those guys to come back. And
After you'd protected them.
well, protected them, sat underneath the mast and just looked out for elephants. That's pretty much what I did. But it was so interesting getting back down into the vehicle and then trying to drive back from Cheetah Plains, which I've only just driven into during the day, in the nighttime. So I had to get through Cheetah Plains into Djuma at nighttime, where I've only been here for a week, so it was quite a interesting experience, to say that.
What you're saying is you may have gone via Lion Sands.
No, I don't know actually how we did it, but next thing we were in the research camp, so we did it somehow.
Now, a question on that note from Kitty Bang Bang, the greatest name on Twitter. You'd like to know what would happen if we do cross the boundary. Well, mercifully, in my case, I haven't been caught doing it, of course. And, I mean, I guess, Brent, if they were to catch you, it depends on the level of ego, I suppose, of the individual landowner and whether you were genuinely doing it by mistake or you were trespassing.
Very different things.
Yeah, and I think by and large, the people we know around here would be completely understanding about it.
And we've all done it. You get lost. It happens.
Some more than others. Me.
Yes, James.
Sorry about that. Anyway, so that's Cheetah Plains, everyone, and it is a joy for us to be there, and it's a joy to us to share the discovery with you. I think that we love Djuma, we love Arathusa, but it's a wonderful experience to be able to go onto a new piece of land, especially, of course, as the eastern boundary is on the Kruger National Park. Now, I'm going to play you a wee song, and this little song is tinged with sadness. I've sung it before, I think, at a similar occasion. Of course, we have young and old watching all the time, and our oldest viewer today, I think, was 92. Well done to you, Betsy, sending your first email to us. Great stuff. Please keep sending them, Betsy. It's wonderful to have you with us. And then we have our much younger viewers. And we lose viewers every so often, both old and, unfortunately, well, it's always unfortunate, but especially unfortunately, youngsters. And yesterday we heard that Mattie, who was just 9, died of cancer, unfortunately, and he died on Thursday. And I'm going to sing a little Zulu song called The Crossing, which is about the crossing that the Zulu people believe you make to the land of your ancestors when you die. And it's just to send Mattie on his way, and we hope that wherever he is in the universe, in the ether, whatever your belief might be, that as he makes his crossing, he will remember us fondly and watch us from wherever he is. So, Mattie, this one's for you, and we'll see you all tomorrow at 6 o'clock as the dawn breaks over the wonderful African wilderness that we call home. Bye-bye.
Someone else's dream awake. All the words in truth that were spoken, that the wind has blown away. Oh, it's only you that remains with me here, clear as the light of day. Oh, Cieza, oh, Cieza, Cizo figa we baba no ma. Oh, Cieza, oh, Cieza, Ciago la lomhlaba, Ciawela la peshea, Uliz on tabazim nyama, la posobega panzi, gonge gotobega. Drunk man in the downtown bar takes a beating without making a sound. Through swollen eyes, he swears and he smiles, 'cause no one can put him down. Inside him a boy looks up to his father for a sign or an approving eye. Oh, it's funny how those once so close and now gone still so affect our lives. Oh, Cieza, oh, Cieza, Cizo figa we baba no ma. Oh, Cieza, oh, Cieza, Ciago la lomhlaba, Ciawela la peshe.